I hope that the speaker from the floor earlier, when you talked about going to war against Muslim men, I hope you don't mean that literally, because I'm a Muslim man as well. And you know, we're not all bad, you know. I can even cook curry. My curry is not bad. So I think, as I must point, that fundamentally what we're talking about here is a case of dealing with power, institutionalized power. So to go back to, I think, the first point that was raised about whether this is an attempt to question divine scripture or revealed knowledge, which I don't think it is, and I don't think it ever was. Again, if we are going to attempt to understand this phenomenon, and frankly, I don't care what we call it now. I agree. I think it opens up all sorts of political, ideological, and semantic misunderstandings. You can call it Islamic feminism, you can call it Pizza Hut if you want, I don't care. This phenomenon of Muslims attempting to seek justice, again, remind ourselves of the facts. As far as I know, I have, in my reading of the phenomenon, not encountered a single instance of an attempt to render halal that which is haram, or to render haram that which is halal. So in what way are we talking about this? Like I said, a Muslim woman who wants to be treated fairly at divorce is not a radical, she's not a Che Guevara, she's simply wanting to be treated in a just manner as a Muslim woman. There's nothing radical about that demand, that need. In fact, she wants Islam to work. Period. So in the same way that we have, you know, that which is wajib, like zakat. No one questions that you have to pay zakat. What is being questioned is what happens with the zakat money. If the zakat money ends up in Genting Islands afterwards, then I think something has gone slightly wrong. So we want to move the money from Genting back to the poor. That's it. That's all that is being done here. It is basically an attempt to bring out the justice which Muslim activists see in Islam, to make it into a living reality. And that's why I think the cautionary remarks made by Ustaz at the end are very important. Because this struggle will simply continue by itself. It has a life of its own. The points raised earlier by some of the speakers from the floor, I believe there was an academic earlier, I think demography in the end will decide. The fact is, like I said, from my experience of teaching in universities in Indonesia, female students will be the majority. And if there are no female heads of department now, it's only because we need to let that generational change take over. In 10 years, when my students become doctorates, they will be in a position to be put in positions of responsibility in the various departments, not only in Islamic studies, but in philosophy, economy, etc., etc. And by the way, let's not assume that, you know, just because we have a Muslim woman as head of department or prime minister or whatever, that's going to make things better either. Because I lived in England during Margaret Thatcher's time, and Margaret Thatcher was the most hostile, anti-woman prime minister of British history, because she favoured the market, and the market is hostile to poor women. It's interesting to see how scholarships for female students actually dropped when Margaret Thatcher was in power, because private companies are less likely to give scholarships to female students than male students. So it's not about your biology, it's simply about creating a condition conducive whereby all that we talk about, all we aspire for in Islam, can be translated into a living reality. But I share Ustaz Usman's concern for the future, because ahead of us, looming over the horizon, are geopolitical clouds that I think are going to bring about geopolitical changes to world politics on a scale that many of us will not be able to anticipate. We're talking about, on the one hand, we have the real demographic changes, more Muslim women educated, more Muslim women going to universities and all that. So this will necessarily by itself bring about changes in how Muslim society is going to look at. In 20 years' time, when you talk about Muslim society, you're going to talk about a Muslim society where there are women than ever before. So the conversation will just change by itself. And some feminists say the more women become educated, the more men want to watch football. So to go back to the point earlier about Muslim men, if Muslim men just want to be mahram pigs, then well, what to do lah? They will just by itself die a natural evolutionary death. I do believe, however, that Muslim society will simply change, but this change will take place in the broader context of a global system where the economic and political pressures incumbent on Muslim society are going to be such that in this past decade alone, we have seen how so much of geopolitics has impacted on Muslims worldwide, more so than any other faith community on the planet as a result of 9/11. Muslims are under a global regime of monitoring, surveillance, policing and control as no other community has ever faced before. So, as much as these changes are bound to happen, they should happen, naturally they will happen. All I'm saying is, it's precisely because of the changes that, the wider changes beyond the Muslim community that are going to happen, that we also need to understand that this struggle for, justice for women in the Muslim community has to be part and parcel of a bigger struggle for the emancipation of the Muslim community as a whole. It's intellectual, it's moral emancipation, so that the Muslim community will not remain at this level that was just talked about earlier, simply something under the scrutiny of the microscope of security agencies and international politics. I think in that long-term struggle, the role that Muslim women will play will be crucial. Will be crucial simply because, to go back to the question about the image of the poster, as we know, Islam today is mediated, as a phenomenon it is mediated, and the image of the Muslim woman is crucial to the future of Islam. How Muslim women's subjectivities are articulated and expressed by Muslims and non-Muslims alike will in many ways have an impact on the long-term future of Islam and Muslims in the world. So I'll just end with that.